Chad, take a look at this. It's amazing how many different types of muzzleloaders we have on the market today. I remember just a few short years ago, all we had to choose from was a flintlock and a cap lock.
It sure is, O'Neill. Today, shooters have the choices to go between the old style, antique looking flintlock guns all the way down to the new closed breech modern inline rifles. So if you're a serious hunter, there's a wide variety of choices that'll appeal to anyone so that you have that excitement of muzzleloading out in the field with you.
No matter what they look like, they all have one thing in common. They load from the muzzle, which makes sense, doesn't it? You're going to have to learn to put the powder and the projectile right down the barrel.
Also means you only get one shot in most hunting situations.
And really, that's what makes muzzleloading so much fun. I call it the one-shot challenge. No doubt it takes a more skilled hunter to be successful with a muzzleloader. You have to be willing to accept the limitations inherent in shooting a primitive firearm, which means getting closer to the game and making that first shot count.
Let's do a quick review of the different types of muzzleloading guns used in hunting today. O'Neill, why don't you start us off with the flintlocks?
This is the most traditional or primitive of muzzleloaders that are in use today. If you want to relive the old days to the max, this is the way you want to go. Prior to the 1850s, in fact, this was the only type of muzzleloader around. It's the kind of gun used in the Revolutionary War and by Lewis and Clark on their great expedition. The flintlock action consists of a piece of flint that strikes a piece of steel to create a spark that ignites the charge.
Then just in time for the Civil War, the cap lock was invented. Now the cap lock was basically just an improvement on the flintlock muzzleloader. The gun operated in virtually the same manner, with a hammer on the side of the gun. But instead of a flint striking steel, the cap lock uses a percussion cap ignition system. When the hammer strikes a percussion cap, a small explosion results in powder in the barrel.
Until about 15 years ago, the flintlock and the cap lock, that was the only two choices we had as hunters to use during the special muzzleloading seasons. Then along came what's called the inline. It changed the muzzleloading industry and it changed the way we think about muzzleloading forever. Here's how the inline muzzleloader was different. Now, as you can see here, the percussion cap is positioned in front of a plunger-styled hammer. Unlike the flintlocks and cap locks, the ignition, or the spark, is generated directly behind or in line with the powder charge. What this means is that the spark is delivered to the powder charge much more efficiently, greatly reducing the chances of a misfire. Today, this original inline is called a conventional inline. Many are still sold and at very affordable prices. I've got to tell you though, inline technology has gone way beyond this original design.
The first step beyond the conventional inline was the bolt action inline. Now the bolt action worked a lot like the conventional inline, except that the plunger was replaced by a bolt action striker, similar to those used in modern bolt-action rifles. The only real advantage that the bolt-action has over the conventional inline is that it is slightly easier to clean. But to most shooters, me included, that was a big plus. So the bolt-action muzzleloader was very popular up until just a few years ago.
But then along came the greatest innovation to hit muzzleloader since the inline. It's called a break action. The break action has one big functional advantage over the guns we just showed you. It's a closed breech design, meaning that the charge is protected from the elements, reducing the chances of misfire. But also, and this is what I think really makes these guns popular, is that they are very easy to shoot and clean. Let me use this CVA Optima Pro to show you how the break action really works. See, it's just like a single or double-barreled shotgun. The barrel will just break away from the frame. Now this allows the shooter to cap the gun without using a capping tool, eliminating one of the big hassles associated with bolt action in conventional inlines. Also, because the barrel breaks away from the frame, you can clean the barrel straight through without having to worry about cleaning a receiver or a striking mechanism. And another neat thing about break actions is that they allow you to interchange barrels. So you can go from a .45 caliber to a .50 caliber to a shotgun just by swapping barrels. And with some break actions like this Optima Elite, you can even change to centerfire barrels.
And the latest new muzzleloading action is this pivot block or falling block like the CVA Kodiak Pro. Now this action gives you all of the easy capping and cleaning advantages of a break action, plus a more conventional modern rifle feel and a lighter weight. Here's how the pivot action works. The firing pin is housed inside of this fully encased action that pivots away from the barrel. This opens the breech of the barrel for easy capping and cleaning, just like the break action.
That just about covers every type of muzzleloader for sale today. And which one is the most popular? Well, the inlines have about 95% of the market. And within that category, the closed breech actions, the break action, the pivot action, they're rapidly taking over the market.
Yes, and as you have seen, over the years, muzzleloaders have changed a lot, and they'll continue to change in the future. But one thing's for sure, all muzzleloaders have to be loaded through the muzzle, and in most cases, you only get one shot.
Now that you know about the different types of muzzleloaders, what about the various calibers available in the guns we've discussed? We'll take up that subject next.